Hello, this is your traveling Silverback, and today I'm gonna show you what to do and where to go in Panama City. Panama City is surprisingly a metropolitan capital of Panama. It looks a little bit like a mini Miami. The city is built next to the Panama Canal and has a surprisingly modern banking district with many skyscrapers covering the famous Balboa Avenue. Is Panama City safe? Yes, Panama City is as safe as your big cities in the US or even Europe will be. There are parts you don't want to go, but you easily recognize these parts with the not so nice buildings and some strange people outside. So you will easily recognize if you're in a bad spot of the neighborhood and just turn around to go where you came from. Or if you have a rental car, you know that you don't want to get out in these areas. To give you a further overview, you can use my map to see where you not want to go. Of course, especially in all of Panama City, safety is a little bit more of a concern than in the rest of Panama, which in my opinion is pretty safe. But in Panama City itself, as I've said, there are better and worse neighborhoods. The neighborhoods you don't want to go are El Chorrillo. This is these neighborhoods. Up here to Corundu. These neighborhoods are pretty bad. When you travel with a rental car or a taxi, you will most likely use these roads quite often, and then you see the housings there look pretty poor. That's something you have to consider, because as one of the neighborhoods which is not the safest, right next to is the Casco Viejo, I will talk about later. This is the old town of Panama City, and this is very touristic, so here you will be safe, but you have to look out that you don't wander off too much to the west, so you get into El Chorrillo. But as I've said, it's pretty easy to distinguish the good, safe Casco Viejo or Old Town Panama City to the El Chorrillo, so you shouldn't have any problems to recognize if you're still in the Old Town or if you're in El Chorrillo. Then another bad part is here. You can easily see if you plan a trip and you get the satellite view of Google Maps, places that look like this with many houses compressed in an area like this, it's probably not a very safe neighborhood. The rest of the city is pretty much safe. Of course, you should look out if you're traveling at night. I wouldn't recommend traveling at night in Panama City by yourself unless you're here in the banking district. Otherwise, it's like any other big US city where you have to have your usual safety precautions. Then up here is another not so nice neighborhood as well. You can recognize it with, or as I would say here as well, with the condensed type of many houses in one area. Then San Miguelito, this is an area where you just have to watch out a little bit, especially during nights, but during the day, if you use the normal safety precautions, you shouldn't have a problem there. The rich neighborhoods are here in Altos de Panama and Dorado Springs, around here. This is where the enclosed housing parks are, so where you have a guarded community. And also here in Albrook, this is more for the wealthier people of Panama. This is where we had one of our hotels. And of course the banking district, which is pretty much here bordering the not so good neighborhoods over to the left. But these parts are very safe because police presence is high there. So that's all about safety. This is my website where I've put all the information. So now things to do in Panama City. Of course, the Panama Canal, that's the #1 attraction in Panama. But is it worth it? I think not, and I'll tell you why. Something you don't even consider not doing while in Panama, right? For me, it was clear as soon as you got to Panama, you'll visit the Panama Canal. But I've never thought about, is it really worth it? So that's why I'm telling you these 3 things. Why we didn't book a tour, why we went to the Miraflores Locks, and why we left during the real action. why we didn't book a tour. First, I was convinced that we will book a tour to the Panama Canal in a ship. There are some tourist ships that go to the Panama Canal, but after researching the prices, we considered going with our rental car to the Miraflores Locks by ourselves. This will cost around $15 per person for the entry fee, and not the $120, $150 you would pay for a day-long trip on a boat going to the Panama Canal. Why we went to the Miraflores Locks? There are 4 locks on the Panama Canal. The 4 locks are called the Gatun Locks, the Pedro Miguel Locks, and the Agua Clara Lock, and of course the most famous Miraflores Locks. We decided to go to the Miraflores Locks because it's the only place where there is a museum and a terrace, mostly because it was the closest to our apartment in Panama City. So let me tell you the story why we left early from the Panama Canal. So after a little research, we found out that there will not be any ships in the gates from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we are at the Miraflores Locks at around 2:15 p.m. We got in a small line to purchase our tickets. At the ticket counter we saw a sign that stated that the first ships came in around 3:30 p.m. So we prepared ourselves to wait for another hour until the action began. So after passing time while visiting the quite interesting museum, we got to the terrace to get in a strategically clever spot to see a ship. After standing there for 30 minutes, we got a message from the speakers that the first ship will come through in an hour, so that means 4:30 p.m. Okay, great. Another hour to wait. Okay, so we didn't want to lose our great spot, especially with more and more people coming. So we stood there for another 30 minutes. So suddenly a tugging boat appeared in the canal and the locks filled with water. Finally, the first action in 2 hours. About 10 minutes filling time, the locks opened and the small tugging boat went in through. The gate closed and that was it. Pretty underwhelming. Of course, the main attraction was the big cruise ship waiting in the side of the locks since 3 hours. But just to see big gates open and close and a huge bathtub getting filled with water wasn't worth spending about 3 hours. It certainly wasn't worth spending $15 entry fee. But wait, that's not the end of the story. Just to give you a picture of how uninteresting it was for us, we decided then on the spot that okay, so now that we have seen what the gates do, so waiting just for a bigger ship just wasn't for us. So we planned to go. But we were a little hungry and went to the food counter and ordered a little sandwich. This took so long that as we finished ordering and eating the sandwich, the massive cruise ship was already in the canal locks about 300 feet or 100 meters from our faces. So finally, the real action we waited about 3.5 hours was finally there, but it wasn't enough for us to stay. The ship is coming in so slowly and what's happening is not that spectacular. This is why we left when the ship was coming in and got lowered down to the lower level. So pretty much the action we waited for more than 3 hours. So recap. So reading other reviews about the canal on TripAdvisor, we found out that it's hard to predict when a ship is coming. This naturally means in most cases a pretty long waiting time. My guess is going around 3:30 to the gates in Miraflores. Pretty slow moving gates and massive ships don't make the attraction more exciting. And make no mistake, I'm pretty much a target audience for that kind of stuff. As a former mechanic and as a technic freak who can watch megastructures documentaries on YouTube for hours. But even I have to say, meh, wasn't worth it. Of course, if you have 3 or 4 hours to spare in Panama City and you make use of my tips about when to go and really like technical stuff, go out to the Miraflores Locks. But otherwise, there are more exciting things to do in Panama City, especially if you have just 1, 2 or 3 days. Insider tip to save money, the Pedro Miguel Locks. If you just want to see the big ship passing by, you can go to the Pedro Miguel Locks, see my map on my website. There's a parking lot right next to the canal where you have a good look at the passing ships for free. So see my map where exactly to go. So Casco Viejo, this is the Panama Old Town. A beautiful old town which reminded us of old San Juan, but clearly isn't as big and as beautiful as in Puerto Rico if I'm honest. Because it's not that big, it's easily walkable, so that's a plus. There are many beautiful colonial houses and about 4 very stunning churches. The highlight of the Casco Viejo are clearly the pump house churches. There are some shops on the little peninsula southeast, so if you're in Casco Viejo, this is the little peninsula, and there are some shops on the Calle 5A where you can buy pretty much touristic stuff. And the rest is pretty much the Casco Viejo. There are some churches here, and I think another one here. You can go into the churches and just have a look at the nice colonial buildings. How dangerous is it to come in if it's surrounded by bad neighborhoods? We have read that going to Casco Viejo is very dangerous and surrounded by bad neighborhoods. Even our host told us we should take an Uber or a taxi to go in, but this is where my insider tips come in. You can go easily by yourself if you have a rental car, especially in daylight. So if you come from everywhere outside of the bad El Chorrillo, you just drive the Avenida Balboa, down the Avenida Balboa, and come here inside of Casco Viejo. That's no problem, not dangerous at all if you're in a rental car. You could even walk from here to here because the seafood market is patrolled as well, and there's just 2 blocks where it could be a little dangerous, but if you stay on the sidewalk that's bordering the ocean, it shouldn't be a problem, especially at daylight. So if you have a rental car, you come in here, you can park on the side of the road on many streets, or there is a big parking lot here where you certainly find a spot. And another parking lot here where you should find a spot. It's around $2 to go in there, but these parking spots I wouldn't quite recommend because in these areas here there are some poor houses as well, and these streets, yeah, I don't know, it's not dangerous, but it doesn't look as safe as the other streets in Casco Viejo. Casco Viejo at night, there are many bars and restaurants in Casco Viejo. The center of Casco Viejo is safe, but especially at night, stay to the center, so the Plaza de la Independencia, and to the east side, so the ocean side. I would also, and if you go in or out of Casco Viejo, take an Uber or a taxi or drive by yourself. So recap, a nice little old town, which is easily walkable, many great churches, and a calm walk through the native shop will make a great afternoon. So the Panama La Vieja, which is not to confuse with the Casco Viejo. This is the town which got destroyed by Captain Morgan and is a ruined town. The Casco Viejo is the old town of Panama City. So Panama City, which was destroyed by Captain Morgan a couple of centuries ago, is now just a couple of ruins, but which is quite interesting to see. There are some relics of the old city left, but nothing much, to be honest. The highlight is the 4-story tower, which can be stairwayed to the top. If you're Panamanian, you are lucky, the entry is just about $3. But for a foreigner, it's about $8 for the park and $12 for the package, so the park and the museum. You get an entry bracelet and tickets for the museum, which you never have to show. So pretty much a tourist ripoff, in my opinion. Insider tip to save money. Some people just casually walked in the park without knowing that you have to pay. As there is no gate or something similar, we did the same, but we were stopped by the trolley driver. And we were sent to the small counter on the side of the museum to pay the entry fee. But the trolley driver was the only one who controlled the people. And after he had enough people to drive around the park, there was nobody else there, and people just walked in without knowing that there was an entry fee. And of course didn't pay anything to go in. So maybe that's something you can take advantage of. You just have a look when the trolley bus is not there anymore, and then you just casually walk in because nobody will care. Talking about the bus, there's a little tourist bus covering the distance from the museum to the tower with a stop in the middle. So if you're lazy or if it's very hot, you can easily take the bus for this tour. Of course, to get into the pockets of the tourists, they put 2 little museums at the entry, which honestly were more practical because they had ACs in it rather than being exciting or very informative. So my opinion, just buy the $8 park fee and skip the $3 additional for the museum. There's a big parking lot right at the museum. The Panama Viejo is here. This is the street where the trolley or the bus will take you. This is the entry house, and this is the parking for the Panama Viejo. All in all, a nice walk through the park with some ancient ruins. You can take back some nice pictures and a great view from the big tower. Nothing more, nothing less. Then if you search TripAdvisor for things to do, if you're like me, you see the seafood market. In my opinion, it's just an overhyped touristic attraction. It's just a small fish market with some restaurants. There are a lot of grimy fishermen unloading their vessels, which doesn't make a nice environment to have lunch or dinner. So in my opinion, skip the seafood market unless you're a fish expert and want to get into the seafood market to buy fish and prepare it for yourself. Then the Calle Uruguay. This is not just a street, rather a whole area. This is behind the banking district. It's here, and the Calle Uruguay is here. So between Calle 50 and the Avenida Puebliot, there's an area to go out, have a drink. There are even some clubs there, and of course many restaurants. The El Cangrejo district is another area in Panama City which is famous for bars. This is the area here, and the bars will be around this street. This is the area where many Panamanian students are, so of course there will be partying, mostly for students and young people. Then the Ancon Hill is another attraction in Panama City. A walk or drive to the top of the hill will reward you with a great view of the city and the canal. So this is the only big hill in the city. On the top you have a great view of the city, and if you turn 180 degrees you have a nice view on the Las Americas Bridge. Reviews on TripAdvisor tell that early in the morning there is a chance to see little monkeys or other small mammals. How to get here? You can walk from the parking lots. So here is the Ancon Hill. And here is a parking lot with a little entry house which is guarded. And usually you should be able to drive up here, but the road is so narrow that the entry house security man, or in our case woman, has to organize if cars are coming down, no car is going up. And in our cases, she didn't mind to organize anything, and as our Spanish is not so fluent, I think she was uninterested to tell us how we should manage that, and just told us that there is no way to go up with the car and we had to walk up. So if you have to drive up because you're not able to walk up the hill or don't want to, your best bet is to take a taxi driver, so he will certainly be able to get you up the mountain by car. Otherwise, it's just about 20 or 30 minutes to the top on a small trail. Mi Pueblito is a nice little outside museum which tells you the founding stories of Panama. Combine it with the tour to the Ancon Hills, because it's right next to the Ancon Hill, or on the bottom of Ancon Hill in Mi Pueblito. And just make sure to stay in this area and not wander in the El Chorillo area. Then another nice attraction is the Monkey Islands. About 30 minutes from the center of Panama City is the Monkey Island. A tour is not overly expensive. Check out TripAdvisor for latest prices and review on the spot, because we didn't do it. The Amador Causeway, or Calzada de Amador, is a surprisingly nice road which connects Panama City to the islands Isla Naos, Isla Perico and Isla Flamenco. This is this causeway here with the three islands, 1, 2, 3, and this is where many Panamanians go out to eat or rent a family bike which holds 5 people and cycle up and down the road. Then the museum is located at the Amador Causeway here. It's a museum about biodiversity, which looks quite interesting from the outside. Check out the website of the Biomuseum itself or TripAdvisor to see how expensive it is to go inside, and the reviews on TripAdvisor will tell you if it's worth going inside or not. We didn't do it because we didn't have time. So the Trump Tower view, or more specifically the Panama Vieja Ocean Sun Casino. This is a rooftop bar with a great overview of Panama City itself. Just go on the 66th floor with the elevator in the casino and enjoy the view. if you're in the Trump Tower, because you parked there with your rental car or your taxi dropped you off on the main plaza, go in the casino and not in the Trump Tower. In the Trump Tower there is a bar which is called Rooftop Bar, which is not the bar you want to go to, so don't mistake the Rooftop Bar in the Trump Tower with the Panama Vieja Ocean Sun Casino Rooftop Bar. Insider tip, go during the weeks to avoid the crowds. You've been there on a Wednesday and we had pretty much the bar for ourselves. You don't have to pay an entry fee, not necessarily a drink, but if you're up there, just get a drink or a cerveza and enjoy the view. There are 3 malls in Panama City which in my opinion are worth visiting. For me, the best one was the Albrook Mall. This is a huge mall, and I mean huge mall. No wonder it's the biggest in Central America, with all kinds of stores, Nike, 21 Forever, and even $1 stores. There's an integrated casino, a bowling alley, a game center, and a movie theater. If you really like malls, this is the best place to go. Then the Multiplaza Mall, another beautiful mall. It's more in the center of Panama City, and if you have been to the Albrook Mall, it's pretty much the same, but not that big. And the Multicentro Mall, this is the smallest mall, but right at the east end of the Balboa Avenue, so pretty much downtown Panama City. Not a place if you really want to go shopping for hours, but a nice place anyway. Then restaurants, the White Rabbit Beer Garden. This is a nice open sports bar. It has a roof though, so you are protected from the rain. If you want to watch a game like the NFL or the NBA, this is a nice looking place to go. On the menu are beers, drinks, burgers, sandwiches and co. So nothing fancy. More American and really not authentic Panamanian, but a nice place to go anyways. Then the Gauchos, if you want to take your wife, girlfriend somewhere special, if you really like meat, this is the place to go. A real meat expert's place like an Argentinian steakhouse. Try the ribeye, it's one of the best I've ever had. A great alternative to the ribeye is the mixed meat plate. A whopping $70 or $80 bill will wait for a couple who ate and drank a glass of wine. Then the hotel, we went to 2 hotels. The Albrook Inn, this is a motel in a very safe neighborhood of Albrook, a little outside of Panama City. Albrook itself is like a little Beverly Hills of Panama, so a nice little motel which served us for one night after arriving in Panama. Then the Airbnb Panama City, a great ocean view apartment in Panama City where we spent 5 nights. This is Airbnb listing, is perfect. Located in a safe area on the Balboa Avenue. The best thing is the amazing view of the city. Absolutely recommended to stay here. So a pretty long video about Panama City. All in all, a very metropolitan city. Not what you would expect from Central America. Very modern, very safe. So decide for yourself if you want to visit the Panama Canal. Make sure to check out my video about General Panama and about the beautiful highlands of Boquete. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to my channel, it's free.